Today we are talking about all the watercolors, part 2. Hey everyone, welcome to another video. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Irit. I'm a watercolor and mixed media artist based in Austria in Europe. And on my channel, I talk about watercolors and I paint with watercolors, and it's mostly watercolors. And today is going to be part 2 of the Battle of the Brands video series. So the point of this series is to talk about the differences, highlights, strengths, weaknesses of major watercolor brands. Now I know it doesn't include all the brands, but I have included those that I feel I have used extensively and feel comfortable giving my opinion, review on them. In general, and I said it also in the previous video, I think that all of these brands that I talk about, probably with the exception of one that I will be discussing in this video, I think they're all good. And I had a lovely viewer comment that it's not really helpful if you say they're all good. What I mean is that if you're a watercolor artist and one of these brands is what you have available to you, and I always recommend buying as local as possible, then you're not really missing out on anything else out there. All these brands have very high standards. Most of their range is pretty standard. And then there are, of course, those unique colors that I think are worth, maybe spending a little bit more. So for me, for example, there are some Daniel Smith watercolors that I don't want to live without, and I'm willing to pay, the import costs and all those things. When I started painting with watercolors, I tried a lot of different brands. I bought a lot of basic sets. It's also very, very popular on YouTube, like these videos. So, it's nice to get a lot of views on your videos. But after years of painting with many, many brands, that is the conclusion that I came to. And I'm trying to save you from, feeling like you should try everything out there because maybe there's something that you're missing. I don't think there is. However, the more you paint, and also depending on, your budget, the climate where you live in, and what is kind of available to you, there are differences between formulations, between color ranges, between the format that paints come in. Some brands, have only full pans, and maybe you just want to use half pans. So there are differences, but as a kind of blanket statement, I do think all of these brands are a great choice. And if you can only get, one or two of them, then please don't feel like you're missing out on something. And if you do want to try new brands or brands that are more expensive where you are, then I really recommend looking for those special sets, those special colors, and trying those instead of just, trying French ultramarine from every brand, because I think it's a waste of money. Those are my opinions. Of course, you're entitled to your own. This is only my experience. So let's get started with today's video. I will put timestamps below so you can skip ahead to the brands that you're interested in. I will be talking about Mijello, Rembrandt, Schmincke, Sennelier, and White Nights today. I have here all my notes because there's a lot of info here, so please forgive me if I kind of look down, but yeah, I can't memorize all of this. It's a lot of information. Let's start with Mijello. So Mijello is made in South Korea. It comes in 15 milliliter tubes. There are sets of 7 milliliter tubes, and there are also sets of like weird shaped pans. I don't like it when brands do that. I'm already starting on the negative. Okay, spoiler, this is mostly going to be negative. And I'm sorry if you love this brand. I'm really sorry. It's just my opinion and my experience. I don't like it when brands do something so unique that you can't combine it with other brands. I'm talking about the Mission Gold artist grade. I haven't tried their silver line, I think, which is considered student grade. I haven't tried that. These videos are only talking about artist grade. My opinion before I started just looking at all these details for this video was from the set. I tried their 36 7 milliliter tube set with a palette, and I have a review of that set on my channel. It's one of my most watched videos and people have lots of opinions about it. I gave that set away because I really didn't like it. What I did like about it, there are a few things that I liked, but I have so many other watercolors that I really didn't see myself using that set. I really liked the palette, and I really liked how vibrant and transparent those colors were. Let's talk about their color range. Their color range has, on their website, from what I saw, 105 colors. Maybe more because I saw a few colors in their pure pigment set that I didn't see in their range. It seems at first glance, you know, it's a very large color selection, or kind of on par with other major brands. And it seems to be very, you know, basic. But at closer inspection, I was really surprised to see that almost all of their paints, or like a huge majority, which is very different from other established brands, are mixtures of 2 pigments, 3 pigments, 4 pigments. I fear that those are kind of the cheaper pigments. Now, I don't have a problem with cheaper pigments. There are pigments that are just less expensive than others. Every brand has them. But what I really don't like about the Mijello range is that it has all kinds of imitations of more expensive pigments, or like standard colors using cheaper pigments. And what I especially don't like is that they seem to have like 2 versions of super standard colors. So they have like version 1 and then version 2, and one of those has the traditional pigment, single pigment that most brands have, and then the other one is usually a mixture that kind of looks similar to the real thing. You know, just to give you an example, like their cobalt turquoise has 3 pigments, including white. Their cobalt blue number 1 is a mixture of ultramarine blue and phthalo blue. Like, I just find it very confusing. I don't want to say misleading, but, you know, usually when brands do that, they would just say something like hue, so you know that you're not getting the expensive pigment. Another example, I looked, all their purples are mixtures of 2 or 3 pigments. Their raw sienna has 3 pigments. Yeah, the prices are good, but I'm like not surprised when you use kind of the same cheap pigments to create pretty much your entire range. If you have an opinion on this, I would love to hear. Of course, be kind and polite, but I was very surprised when I saw this. I know their pure pigment set seems to be like highly regarded and a lot of people love it. If you have to buy this brand, I would definitely buy the pure pigment set. It is expensive, you get a lot of paint for it, but at least you kind of know what you get, and mostly you get those kind of traditional pigments. But I didn't even find some of the tubes in that set in their regular range, and that set seemed to contain pretty much all of their single pigment set. So unless you get some amazing deal, I really don't understand why you want to put, you know, your eggs in that basket when there are so many other brands that, yeah, just have a better selection and better pigment choices. And their palettes without the paints are really great. They are very affordable and really nice palettes. So I'm not trashing those, but the paint is a little bit of a mystery to me, and I don't think it's at the same level of all of the other brands that I've discussed in this series. So I will say, if you're looking for very bright, saturated color and you don't really care about, you know, pigments and that sort of thing, you might want to try these. The swatches online seem pretty decent. The formula, from what I remember, as I said, I gave my set a few years ago. It was very easy to work with, so I can't fault them for that. As I said, the colors are very bright, very saturated, and I guess for like a kid's set, it would be very enjoyable. For the first set, I wouldn't get anything. I guess the only set that to me seems like anything worth your money is the Pure Pigment set, but again, I wouldn't choose their brand over others. And the second set, again, I wouldn't get anything. This is as harsh as I'm going to get in this video. And yeah, the duds, I would just say for me, I just find the whole color range kind of poor and misleading, and yeah, that's all I have to say about that, which was pretty much a lot. It was a lot to say. Let's move on to something more positive, and that is Rembrandt. So Rembrandt is from the Netherlands. It's made by Royal Talents, and they come in half pans, in 10 milliliter tubes, in 20 milliliter tubes, and all of the color range comes in all those formats, which I'm very, very grateful for, and I really appreciate it when brands just do that and let you choose what you want to use. The range contains 120 colors. It's a really lovely color range. They have beautiful pigments. This is my go-to paint. Whatever I can find in their range, I use Rembrandt. Their color range is not as good as Daniel Smith's or Schmincke, but I'm pretty happy with it. The prices are very affordable. In the previous video I gave kind of exact prices, but that's just from one store, and these things change all the time, and different stores have different pricing and there are sales. So I don't want to give you numbers, but just kind of a general statement. Rembrandt has a very competitive price point in Europe, especially the 20 milliliter tubes, and yeah, they are also vegan friendly, which I think all of the other brands I talk about on this video are not. So if that's also important to you and you're in Europe, it's a great option. I don't know if you can find this paint outside of Europe. What I know is that pretty much no one talks about it, and I think that's a real shame, and I think probably Royal Talents could do a much better job marketing their paint, and especially all their specialty sets, because they have really, really nice sets. A lot of options there, which are a great introduction to the brand, but they're kind of not so easy to find. Okay, the swatches online are not great. Some look hand painted and then some are just like blocks of paint. They could do better. The formula is very consistent, easy to work with. It's kind of creamy. I really enjoy it. It also dries well and travels well. They work better if you give them a little spritz of water before you start working, like a few minutes, but they activate really beautifully. I mostly use reconstituted paint or like re-wetted dried tube paint, and it works beautifully. So for this first set, I really love a 24 half pan set in a metal tin. That's kind of the sweet spot in my opinion, and they have a nice set. It's very versatile. Price point is similar to other European brands for that kind of set. It's not like super exciting. The next set, after, if you have already a basic watercolor set and you want to try something from this brand, I think they have a fantastic range of smaller sets, like 12 half pans. They have, like, my choice would be their granulating set. They also have a black mixing set, white mixing set, like landscape, portraits, all kinds of options. Really, really great introduction to the brand. So that would be a great option if you can get your hands on one of those. Yeah, my pick would be the granulating set, which also include their dusk colors, which are basically just mixtures of granulating black with certain colors, but I really love them. The dusk pink and the dusk yellow, I really like those, and I have them usually in my palette as like convenience colors. So those are also included in the granulating set. That would be my pick. As for the duds, yeah, they're cobalt violet. It's my favorite color. The cobalt violet in a tube is a little bit rich on the binder. A probably more safe choice would be their pan, but it is the best vegan option that I have personally found for a more pinkish cobalt violet. And that's my go-to cobalt violet, which I always have in my palette. And their chameleon colors, I know these are supposed to like work on darker colors or black paper. I think they're really anemic and I was kind of underwhelmed with them, so I didn't like them. Let's move on to the big guns, Schmincke. So Schmincke, I would say, is like the Daniel Smith of Europe, as in the most hyped, the most known, the most expensive, the most talked about, and let's get into it. So Schmincke is made in Germany. It comes in 15 milliliter tubes, 5 milliliter tubes, half pans and full pans, and I think all of their colors, except some of their new ones, come in all those formats. This to me in Austria is the most widely available paint. They have it in every art store, usually in a few formats like, you know, pans and tubes and sets. So very, very easy to get your hands on. Their color range is 140 colors plus 40 super granulating colors. So besides Daniel Smith, I think this is the largest, widest color range available out there. The prices in Europe are, compared to other European brands, they're probably just a little bit more expensive. And of course, the more expensive pigments are more expensive, but it's not like an insanely expensive paint. The sets are, you know, it just adds up. Usually with other brands, you kind of feel like you're getting a good deal when you're buying a set that someone else curated for you. With Schmincke, the price is still up there, but yeah, you can sometimes find them on sale and get a good deal. So the swatches, from what I saw, they're kind of small. They could do better. The formula of Schmincke is, in one word, perfection. It is perfect. You can see that, you know, German craftsmanship. It is reliable, consistent. It's beautiful. And their pans are made by pouring their tube paint into pans, and then they dry it, and then they do this, I think like 4 times. There's a really nice video somewhere on YouTube showing how they do that, which makes their pans, you know, logically and also from my experience, extremely concentrated, and they are really something, like super creamy, intense. If you are heavy-handed, you might find the paint a little bit challenging to use because you will get that richness kind of immediately, but it is just beautiful. And I have never come across a brand that is so consistent, that every tube of paint and pan that I've ever tried is made to perfection. And yeah, that's what I can say about it. Their first set, I would go with their 24 half pans. I just think it's a really great option for starting out. They have like a good basic set with some pretty colors, including some of my favorites that don't always come in these basic sets, like their indigo, which I think is probably the prettiest indigo out there. They have a color called Helio Turquoise, which is a super vibrant single pigment turquoise. Usually other brands combine phthalo green and phthalo blue to create some of this, but Schmincke has a single pigment version. And their Naples yellow, which is the prettiest Naples yellow in my opinion. And I found, I think on Amazon, this set for around 100 euros, which is, you know, a good deal for Schmincke, and it's kind of the standard-ish range of prices for an artist grade 24 half pan set. As for a second set, I would probably pick one of their super granulating new colors or some single half pans. If you use half pans, try the Schmincke ones. They are just glorious. So the duds of this brand, I haven't tried paint that was a dud. Their Academy line is very nice. It has a limited color range and it's as expensive as other artist grade paints, so I really don't see the advantage of using it. My big complaint to Schmincke is that their paint is not vegan and it uses ox gall, which comes from bile of cattle, and yeah, that's why I stopped using it. It's the only reason I stopped using it. Now it's especially annoying with all of their super granulating gorgeous paints, but I want to say a word about that. So I think their new range of granulating paints is gorgeous. I think it was a brilliant decision that really made the brand very current, on trend, and people are all the time talking about it. They keep coming up with new sets and you see like a lot of people trying them out and making beautiful swatches and videos on YouTube. So I think it was a very, very good decision. Kind of puts them where Daniel Smith is with all of their specialty colors. Although, this is what I'm going to say about that. So yes, I have some FOMO because I'm not going to buy these paints. So you can definitely see this rant as just the bitter side of me. But if you look into those paints, and I made a dedicated video for that, you will see that almost all of them are mixtures of existing pigments from the Schmincke range that are mostly easy to find also in other ranges. Now, I'm totally for, you know, buying colors you're excited about, colors you love, having convenient colors in your palette. However, if these are, you know, hard for you to find, like the Schmincke super granulating ones, or expensive, look at the pigment information and try to find those. Like a lot of these are made with Potter's Pink or Ultramarine Blue or Cobalt Teal, and you can create very similar versions with mixing your own paint. You can also play with a granulation medium from Winsor & Newton. I don't like the Schmincke one, and I think they should reformulate that, but the Winsor & Newton granulation medium is really, really nice. So there are ways that are not too complicated to create your own versions, and yeah, I completely understand wanting to try all of these gorgeous, gorgeous colors. They did an amazing job. I wouldn't expect anything less from Schmincke. Hats off to them, and I'm sure they are, you know, making a lot of money with these colors, and they absolutely deserve it. Please change your formula and make it vegan, because then I'm gonna buy the entire range. No doubt about it. They are gorgeous. It's a really, really beautiful, beautiful paint. There's nothing to say about it. Should this be your go-to paint? If you're in Europe and you're not vegan, then I would say it's a great option. If you're outside, if you don't have any budget restrictions, sure, go for it. If you do, there are other options that are also good out there. They did a really good job. It's like the Mercedes of watercolors. Okay, let's move on to something more romantic, like Sennelier. So Sennelier are made in France, and they come in half pans, full pans, 10 milliliter tubes, and 21 milliliter tubes. They have a color range of 98 shades. It's a very classic color range with really nice violets. It's kind of what stood out to me. The price point is kind of similar to other brands. Sometimes it's a bit more affordable. It is a good, like, well-priced artist grade paint. The swatches are kind of sad. They could do better, and they have this weird hexagon shape because it's like honey based. So yeah, I think Sennelier could do better. The formula is lovely. So this is a honey based watercolor, but it is not sticky like other honey-based watercolors and especially their pen paint, which has a different formula, it seems to me, because it doesn't look like it's poured. It looks like it's cut. So their pen paint, even though it's honey-based, is really, really nice to work with. It's not sticky at all. It dries nicely, doesn't stay sticky, but it's easy to work with. I love this formula. I have a soft spot for the Sennelier paints. It was my first artist grade set, and I loved it, and I bought a ton of their pans after and some tubes, and I just think it's a beautiful paint. For the first set, if you're in Europe, I would say, or if you can find like a good deal, I would say this is a beautiful option. Their 24 half pan set is just lovely. As I said, the formula of the pans is beautiful, and the 24 set has also some unique colors that you might not necessarily find in other 24 basic sets. So for me, it's one of the top choices. Beautiful gift if you have someone in your world that, you know, let's say you're from North America and you know an artist that loves all things France and French. This would be a gorgeous gift. As for the next set, I personally like the Billy Showell set of tubes. I don't think there's anything super unique about the colors, but I just really like the arrangement of them and the selection. And I kind of like the fact that she didn't put any greens in them. So she's a very, very well-known kind of realistic botanical painter. And I think she has like an online school and beautiful books. So it would be kind of easy to buy her set and use it with her tutorials. It's just a lovely set, but it's not like something super, super unique. As for the duds, I did have one of my favorite colors from the Sennelier range is called Emerald Green. It's just like a perfect minty color that is surprisingly transparent, and the pan is perfection. The tube can be a little bit thick with binder. I know one of my viewers, I think, had a really bad tube with lots of binder, so I'm sorry about that. But yeah, that happens. Usually the pans are a safer choice with pigments that can be, you know, a little bit on the dry side and need more binder. So that's, I think, the only dud that I have. I have tried, I think, almost the entire range I have in pans, and I just love it. I think it's beautiful, beautiful paint. The word on the street when I hang out on the streets is that Jackson's, you know, house brand of watercolors is made by Sennelier. I've only bought a couple of pans, and they do look quite the same, and they do feel like the same, but I know also that Sennelier has, I don't know what they call it, like the Le Petit Aquarelle or something like that. So I think they also have a student grade paint. I'm not sure how they formulate the Jackson's version, if it is made by Sennelier, but you might want to try, if you're on a budget, you might want to try one of Jackson's colors. Very limited color range, kind of basic, but yeah, very affordable, especially if you're in the UK. So that's it about Sennelier. I think they're lovely. I think they have something about them, and yeah, definitely worth a try. Moving on to White Nights. So White Nights are made in Russia. I haven't tried. I know there's like Sonnet and something else, and I think they're all made by the same manufacturer. I've only tried White Nights, so that's what I'm talking about. I know there are people like Lindsay, the Frugal Crafter, who has tried everything. So, you know, if you're interested in that, then check her comparisons to see if there are any differences. I don't know. I've only tried White Nights. They're made in Russia. They come in full pans and 10 milliliter tubes. Their color range is, I didn't add everything up, but they have 84 colors, 18 pastel colors, and 7 metallics, which I actually haven't seen. I went, you know, I Googled St. Petersburg White Nights, and after I, and then I added watercolors because everything I got was talking about the White Nights in St. Petersburg, which, by the way, is definitely on my bucket list. But yeah, I got to the St. Petersburg website that seem to be located in the UK. So I'm not sure if that's just like where Google pointed me because I'm in Europe. I don't know. But yeah, it's a pretty nice website, and they have a lot of like really lovely sets there. There's no pigment information on their website, which is very disappointing, but you can find the pigment information on Jackson's. So it is out there, you just have to look for it. I don't get why brands do that. So the price point, I would say, my opinion about White Nights is that this is the best budget-friendly option out there with value for money, paint per dollar or euro. You get the most from this brand, and that's where I think its strength is. And yeah, so let's talk about it. The price is incredibly competitive for the tubes, for the full pans. You know, you get a lot of paint in those pans, and they usually cost between like 2 and 3 euros for a full pan, and then the 10 milliliter tubes are around like 4 euros, something like that. Very, very competitive. The price point for most artist grade brands in Europe is usually about double or triple that price. So just to give you an idea. I like their color range. There's not a ton of, you know, like interesting mixtures like maybe Aquarius has, or like super granulating paints, but it is a really, really nice color range. The swatches online are pretty standard, nothing too good or too bad. The formula is lovely. It is creamy, it is intense, it's very, very easy to work with, and I really enjoy it. If you are heavy-handed, you might want to be careful because it is very, very creamy, but I think it's lovely. I have used them for years, and I mostly stopped using them because I didn't like the fact that where I am, I can only get them in full pans, and it was just kind of taking too much space in my palettes, and I switched to using palettes that mostly have wells for tube paint and some space for half pans. So that's mostly why I stopped using it. And also I became very, very specific with my color choices, and I kind of choose maybe some more like special colors, special granulating colors, interesting mixtures that they don't really have in their range. So for the first set, as I said, I really think this is the best value for money out there. Recently, in the recent years, they came out finally with metal tins. Before that, they only had plastic palettes. So in previous videos, I talked a lot about, they have this one set which is 24 full pans in a 36 full pans plastic palette. What I don't like about the plastic palettes is that usually they will only fit that brand's pans, which doesn't allow you to mix brands. I really hate that. That's why I prefer metal tins, because they're versatile and you can use any brand with them. But if you do want to try, if you think this will be like your one go-to set, then you can choose the plastic palette. It is pretty big, it needs a lot of space, but it is fantastic value. I also found, for example, on Amazon Germany, they had a 35 full pans set in a metal tin for 104 euros. You can't beat that. Like, I dare you to try and find so much good quality paint for that price. So if you're starting, if you find this whole thing very overwhelming, like which brand to go with, and you're on a budget and you just want a lot of paint you don't have to think about and you can use, you know, heavily and paint a lot, definitely check out White Night. If you're on a super tight budget, you can get their 24 full pan set in a cardboard box and just get like a white plate for mixing, and you will have paint that will last you for a very, very long time and a very, very low price point. So I feel that is the strength of White Nights. They do have some fantastic colors, and they have some amazing Russian artists that have been using this paint forever, and for a lot of people in Russia, from Russia, I think it's like their first set of watercolors. So yeah, it's really beautiful paint, and the formula is, to me, extremely similar to Aquarius. I think the Aquarius color range is a little bit more up my alley, and just nicer with all kinds of like beautiful mixtures. But to me, those brands are very comparable, and it kind of feels the same, it kind of looks the same, like these full pans with poured paint. Yeah, so if you tried Aquarius, then it's very similar. For the next set, I would consider maybe trying their pastel set. In the first video of the series, I talked about Holbein, and they have a pastel set. These are, of course, you know, less versatile. Once you start mixing them, they get muddy because they're all pastel and they have white in them. But if you like pastel colors, then the White Night option is more affordable than Holbein, and they're really lovely. They're actually really, really lovely paint. Again, the formula is very consistent with these paints and very lovely to work with. And because you get so much paint for such a great price, I feel like you can use a lot of it and not feel precious at all, but still have a great experience and quality of paint. Whew. That was a lot. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this helped you a little bit. Of course, I would love to hear your opinion and discuss all things watercolor, my favorite topic. So leave those in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you didn't, then give it a thumbs down. It really, really helps me, and it helps the YouTube algorithm kind of show my videos to new people. So please take the time to do that. I really, really appreciate it. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos like this. You might also want to check out some of these videos here or here. I never know. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon in another video. Bye bye.